You're listening to Panthers on Tap. I'm Curtis Rauen, joined by Bryson Karbley. We're just two fans sharing our love for the game and Carolina Panthers football. So join us, crack open a cold one, some bubbly, a little wine, some scotch. We don't care, whatever makes you sleep better at night. Before we dive into the episode, a little self-promotion. Stop what you're doing. Go give us a follow on Twitter at Panthers on Tap. Join the discussion on our Facebook group. We have over 2,500 members. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Just search Panthers on Tap. The Carolina Panthers are 0-4 on the season. They drop one to Minnesota at home. Bryson, the season is looking bleak at this point.
Yeah, not what we expected at all as fans to start the year, obviously. 0-4, first time since 2010, Jimmy Clausen year in Carolina that we are 0-4. So, yeah, I mean, not what we wanted to see, obviously. There's some good things from this game, some good takeaways and some bad, and we're going to get into that. But yeah, I think we'll discuss what I think in a minute.
Yeah, so let's start with the offense because that's obviously the worst part of this team right now. That's been clear really since the start of the season. What were your thoughts on this game offensively, as far as the operation goes and what you saw out of Bryce and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I thought the operation as far as play calling was a joke. When you look at things like the passing chart that Bryce had, where they were checking into a screen every time Bryce thought that there was going to be a zero blitz or a blitz of any kind, checking into a wide receiver screen every single time, or checking out of a run when the box was stacked. I mean, obviously that's not on Bryce. That's coaching, and that's just like a high school level style of I guess expertise to an offense. And this is the NFL, and this is Bryce Young, who's touted as one of the best processors ever to come out of college football into the NFL. And Frank Reich got the training wheels on him still. I think even going from last week with Andy Dalton to this week to Bryce Young, you can see that in the play calling in itself, that Frank trusted Andy Dalton more than he trusted Bryce Young, which is really hard to believe. But
yeah, why do you think that, though? Because I was going to bring that up, too. It just seems like they're handcuffing him at this point. Like, do they not trust him? Do they don't want him to make mistakes? Like, why do you think Frank's doing that? Like, it doesn't make sense.
I can't make sense of it. I really don't. I mean, the only thing that remotely makes any sense is that they just don't trust him at this point. They don't think he can operate the offense that they let Andy operate, just the week prior. So, I mean, and that doesn't make any sense to me either, because like I just mentioned to start the show, he's one of the best processors to ever come out of college football. And he operated a vertical offense at Alabama. People say it's the closest thing to the NFL that in college that you can get to. And it just seems like they think he's incompetent when it comes to running that kind of offense. So I don't understand it, but I thought Bryce played well in the system that he was asked to operate. He was close to an 80% completion percentage for
one of the best statistical games.
Yeah, and that's something I tweeted about. Every single game he's played in, he's taken a step. He's shown growth in every single game he's played in. This past game, I think for the second half, there was a point he was 16 for 16. Like he didn't miss a pass. Every single pass in the second half was accurate. It was on target. It was where it needed to be.
It helps when it's 5 and under, 5 yards and under. That's all they were calling. I was going to say. A
lot of them were behind the line of scrimmage, but that's what was being called. I mean, he can't help that. So even with the mid range throws, the 10 to 15 yards out, one to Adam Thielen, a couple to Adam Thielen, some to Terrace Marshall, he was accurate on those. So I don't understand what the deal is with this offense. There's no creativity at all. There's no trick plays. There's no end arounds. There's no flea flickers. There's no creativity. This is a boring, predictable offense, and the run game is not going. His offensive line,
strong.
It didn't show improvement. The PFF grades, which we're going to get into in a little bit, of course, were a little better, but that's because of the quick passing. So the pass block win rate is going to be higher when you get the ball out 1 second or 2 seconds, and the offensive linemen are done blocking, so their grade's going to be higher. So I mean that's that makes sense to me as to why the grades are a little higher. But I'm so frustrated with this offense, and I've said on here multiple times that I think that they should wait until at least the bye week to take play calling away from Frank. But it's the same thing week after week, and it doesn't seem like he's changing anything, and that's just so frustrating. And even last week when they did have the big shot down the field, Frank admitted that it was Thomas Brown and Parks Frazier that dialed that up. Like they saw something and said, "Hey, run it again, and it's going to be a touchdown." And it was a touchdown. So, I think I was pleased with Bryce. I thought he played outstanding in the form of an offense that he was asked to run. I don't think that he did anything that would lead me to believe that he's not the guy, that he wasn't the right pick, that the stupid shit that you're seeing online. But yeah, I mean,
people are just going to talk, man. The Twitter gives them a platform; they're going to run their mouths. That's just the nature of the beast with that, which is really frustrating. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. And a lot of people would rather be right about their pre-draft take than support the guy that their team drafted. So, of course, when C.J. Stroud's throwing for 6 touchdowns or whatever, 1,000 yards, and Bryce is having a little bit of a slower start, they want to be right. So they're gonna
Well, and C.J. Stroud and Richardson aren't handcuffed. Young, it seems like he's being handcuffed right now with this offense. Literally look at Seattle game and then look at this game, and they're two different offenses. And it's not one is seeing other. No, that's what the play calls were called in Seattle, and this is what the play calls were called in Minnesota, and they were worried about the blitzes, whatever. All teams are going to blitz. You got to deal with it. But this whole – it just looks like a different offense under these two guys, and I'm tired. I don't want to hear Bryce can't handle it. Yes, he can. He can handle the shit. Give it to him, and let's see what he's got. Like, what I personally think is I think they're worried for him to either get hurt because the offensive line is terrible right now, and there's no going around that. They suck. And 2 is they don't want him to make mistakes. They're worried about maybe his confidence, maybe him throwing numerous picks or whatever it is. But it's like, just let him play, let him have fun. It doesn't look like fun out there for him. And you see Stroud, you see Richardson, they're letting it open up a little bit more. And there's other factors. They also have playmakers stepping up right now. We get it. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, those type of guys. Don't know a whole hell of a lot about the Colts, but I know they've opened it up for those guys. Let Anthony Richardson run a little bit more. And you see these guys making some splash plays and playing well, because they're not being handcuffed. Like, let Bryce play. Let him make mistakes. That's what this season's for anyways. At this point, you better let him just play, because they're 0-4 and they're not going to the playoffs. Like, kiss that goodbye. That's not happening. This team is not good. They struggled against another 0-3 team and couldn't beat them. And they've struggled against Atlanta, who looks honestly like the worst team in the NFL right now. They're terrible. Atlanta sucks. Their quarterback is on the brink of being benched. And they lost to that team when he threw 15, 20 passes in the entire game. Carolina is not a good team right now, and we need to get over the fact that this team has a possibility of making the playoffs. Yeah, they might be in a down division, but Bucks are at a 3-1 that no one expected, and the Saints obviously are dealing with injuries. But the playoffs are not happening this year. I've gotten rid of it. Like, I have no faith in that at all. I just want to see improvement, and this team to, string together wins when it matters down the stretch in November and December and January, and to show that you're capable of next year, because it's not what I expected. I thought, they would struggle at times. I thought it would be the product on the field would be better. The way they're losing, it's not even like making sustainable drives and putting up points. It's like they didn't score a touchdown this last game. Sorry, I'm going on a rant, but it's just like, holy shit, I don't even know where we were at with this point. I don't even know where we started with this.
Well, we were talking about, the rookies in the other situations that they're in. And the shocking part to me is Bryce Young is in the worst coaching situation out of the 3 rookie quarterbacks, which is, we thought he was coming into the best out of the 3, but Steichen, better head coach than Frank Reich. D'Amico Ryans, better head coach than Frank Reich right now at this point in time. They've shown that they have the head coaching job figured out better than Frank. I mean, Frank's calling plays. This is on him, and he's not shown the ability to adapt or change his offense or anything to set Bryce up for success. So yeah, and it doesn't help when you have a running back like Miles Sanders who had 13 carries for 19 yards, who averaged 1.5 yards a carry. And you had Chuba Hubbard who had 14 carries for 41 yards, 2.9 yards a carry. You have an offensive line that can't block shit when you need to need to drop back and pass. And your wide receivers, I thought Thielen had a pretty good game. DJ Chark,
Thielen's been the best wideout this whole season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. He has been. They targeted Terrace Marshall a lot that game. I didn't understand Terrace Marshall's screens. You have Laviska, you have Amir Smith-Marset, who's been really good on punt returns. I think he's been great so far this year. And you have other receivers like that have shown a little bit of an ability for, run after the catch. Even Thielen's been better on screens than Terrace was. So I don't understand what the deal is.
Well, TMJ has no business catching screen pass. Like, that's just not his strong suit. And for me, TMJ looks like he's playing in a preseason game. He's dropping balls. He's slipping. I mean, the slipping, he really can't. That's just how the ground. But he just seems like he's trying to get up to speed on everything. And he was injured earlier this season and late into everything. So I feel like he's just trying to catch up. And obviously with the Mingo injury, it doesn't help him whatsoever. But yeah, the screens, 10 screens in this game. Looked it up on PFF. They had 10 screens out of 40 offensive plays. They call a screen on every a quarter of their plays. So,
and one player that I'm surprised has not. I mean, besides the first game, he has done nothing. And I don't know if it's been the game plan or if it's been Bryce just not targeting him or he's just not been there or he's just been.
You're about to say Hayden Hurst, aren't you?
Hayden Hurst. Where are you at, Hayden Hurst? You got Ian Thomas dropping a touchdown that hits him directly in the face.
Ian had no business being in there on that play. He had Ian Thomas should not be your premier pass catching tight end in your offense. Never.
Yeah.
Never, ever. Because Hayden Hurst, I think, catches that ball if he's in the ball game. But they haven't really drawn up a lot to tight ends, or their reads are, later in the progression that they're just not throwing to those guys. I don't know. And I don't know if it's not enough time. It's taking those guys developing routes, but they're just, they're not throwing. It looks like the Panthers the last couple of years with tight ends, which that's Frank Reich's offense is getting tight ends involved, and you have not seen that up to this point. And Ian Thomas is a good blocking tight end, and that is it. He should not be catching the ball very much unless you're trying to, play something different and them not expecting him to be out. Hayden Hurst is your premier tight end and needs to be out there. And that you talk about that play. I watched it back because it was hard to see watching it and the 500 sections, but I watched that back. That was a beautiful ball by Bryce. You gotta catch it. It's a tough catch. It's going to be tough to catch it. You got to make the damn play.
If you're an NFL tight end, that is a catch that you make that you were supposed to make 10 times out of 10 times. And like you say, if that was Hayden Hurst, he catches that ball. If that was Ed Dixon, he catches that ball. Ian Thomas just isn't.
Chark had a drop too on that goal line drive.
Yeah, right after. There was the next play. And that ball hits Chark right in the chest and he drops it. That's 2 touchdown passes right there that Bryce. Well, obviously it would have only been one if one caught it, but that's 2 opportunities.
I get where you're going here.
Yeah, that's 2 opportunities for a touchdown, and then they set up for a field goal. So and then they come back down. I don't know if it's that later that quarter. I think it was, or maybe the third quarter. They come back down and they're driving. Laviska gets a screen which was working, and then Icky gets called for an eligible man downfield and then stalls that drive out. And they could have went up by I think that they were up 13-7 at the time. So they could have went up 20-7. But of course, self-inflicted wounds and they I don't even think they. I don't remember the score at the time, but they settle for a field goal, I believe, and then they're done. That's another opportunity to get a touchdown in the red zone where they didn't, and it just sucks because a lot of the issues that Carolina has right now are self-inflicted, especially amongst the offensive line, getting penalties or line pressures or sacks.
Yeah, let me pull that up while you're talking about it here, about this PFF.
Oh, and actually, I know where I was going with that. So, yeah, it was 13-7. I remember that was Bryce Young's fumble. That we didn't get any points in that drive.
No, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's look at these PFF grades. You mentioned them a little bit here. These actually, again, PFF, you got to say, I just do the eyeball test. If I thought the offensive line played well, I'll say they played well. I didn't think they played well. I didn't think so. But these were the grades this week. I also added penalties in because that was, this came up, and I probably should have added these last week. So Icky had a penalty this week. Bozeman had a penalty this week. It only shows, and this is what's confusing about PFF, it only shows 2 sacks given up and actually only 1 sack given up on the offensive line. So what they did is they counted Icky for a sack. They accounted Chuba Hubbard for a sack. And then the 3 others, they didn't account. So I don't know. They had a hard time accounting for the Viking safeties' 3 sacks.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, Harrison Smith. Thank you. So I don't know how the hell PFF does that, but I mean, I give that. Obviously, there was what they scheme up, and Smith comes free. I don't know how they do it, but again, Zavala, awful performance, and that's just not even going off of PFF. He struggled in this game mightily. And I'm hoping I didn't miss. I feel like there was another sack in here. I hope I didn't miss one, but I'm almost positive these are numbers. I double checked them, but just across the board, I just thought Icky, obviously the costly penalty. And honestly, on that play, when it was a man downfield, I thought there was a holding on the line. So I was shocked that wasn't called. When they threw the flag, I thought it was holding.
And the worst part about that play is Icky had no reason to be downfield. The screen pass to Laviska was on the other side of the field. Icky could have stood still and done.
But was it an RPO? I don't know if it was an RPO.
No, it was not an RPO. It was a direct screen pass to Laviska. There was no other read. It was just to Laviska. It was the second one that they had run, and it was working. And Icky could have just stood still, but instead he goes 5 yards down the field or whatever, and then gets the ineligible man downfield. It's just so frustrating. Like it's like a lot of mental errors with him. I don't know when it's going to click. He seems like a super smart guy, and it's just it's so frustrating at this point. He's a top, what was he, the 6th pick, and it's just not clicked for him at left tackle up to this point, which sucks. But shout out to Calvin Throckmorton. This dude has been balling since we picked him up from the Saints on waivers. He should slide in at left guard when Corbett comes back, hopefully, or keep him there at right and put Corbett at left guard. I don't know what they're going to do, but Zavala needs to come out. He is not what I expected him to be. The transition to the NFL has been terrible for him, and he's been struggling, mightily, which we've been talking about for weeks. So I think he has the most hurries in the NFL for a guard. So he's just not ready. Maybe he needs another year of working out and kind of learning the calls and the protections and stuff in the NFL. So he's just not ready. Throckmorton, 0, 0, 0, 0, and he almost has an 80 pass block grade. Like that's what you want right there for your rookie quarterback. So I think keeping Throckmorton on the field and taking Zavala out when Corbett comes back is what the plan is, hopefully.
What's frustrating for me is the interior part, and I know Throckmorton, looking at PFF, he looks great, but that interior lineman, O-linemen have struggled in the run game, and that's why this run game is not going right now, because the interior offensive line between Zavala, Bozeman, and Throckmorton has been pitiful. Like, there is just nowhere to go, and it doesn't help that they're running back dives on every other play offensively, which is just pathetic. We were literally calling it out during the game. Like, it's just, I thought it was me running a Madden offense. Like, seriously, it was ridiculous. There was just no variety in the run game. Any stretch plays, tosses, count, none of that. It was just straight up dives the whole time. And while I'm on it, I know we're talking about offensive linemen, but Chuba, to me, seems like a better runner than Miles Sanders at this point. And I know you look at it statistically, Sanders has been really good these last couple of years, but Hubbard, I don't know what it is. When he has the ball in his hands, it's just there's some sort of spark that he's got that I feel like he's getting these chunk plays. Obviously, the statistically, I think you said it was like his average run was like 2 and Miles was 1. But I don't know. It just seems like when Sanders is in there, or I mean, when Hubbard is in there, he picks up a little bit more yardage. The thing that hurts him is the pass blocking. Like if he wants to be, reliable and be in there over Sanders, he needs to be able to block. And he gave up a couple plays in that game with pressures on Bryce where he would just totally miss the blitzer. Hubbard did. Hubbard had the one where, and PFF recorded this, totally missed. I think it was Harrison Smith, totally missed them. And even Bryce kind of looked at him after and they were talking like, you can't, that's the type of shit you can't make because those are the plays that will flip the game. And obviously that happened on Sunday. But overall, I'm sure you agree with me. I feel like Hubbard has been the better back in that backfield, even though it has not been good. They have struggled since Atlanta week 1. They have not been able to get anything going.
Yeah, Hubbard's definitely been more decisive and, it seems like he's got better vision at this point than Miles Sanders, which is really hard to admit. As a lifelong Chuba Hubbard hater, he is definitely the best running back on the team right now. Even when he's had his opportunities to catch the ball, he hasn't dropped it in the game, and he's made the most of his opportunity. He's the more efficient running back, and that's what the numbers say. That's what our eyes say, and that's why he got more carries than Sanders did this past game. I think that the coaching staff is starting to see that too, which is what we've known since week 1, really, when he was more efficient as a runner. But I think they're finally learning, just because you're paying a running back a lot of money, like they are Miles Sanders, doesn't mean that he needs to be the one that's starting because it's detrimental to your team and to your rookie quarterback. So
let's talk about Corbett while we were on the offensive line because I feel like will help shore up some things, obviously, with the O-line and has been crucial to his absence has been crucial to the struggles with this O-line because when he was in there, this O-line looked competent. And at this point, they are not. And obviously, I think the Brady Christensen injury is playing into that too. I don't think Zavala was ready and he was thrown in there. And I know a lot of people were, him and Icky are great at NC State. They're going to be great here. Well, it's a big boy game, and he just hasn't been up to par, Zavala. I just don't think he's ready. He was a 4th-round pick thrown in there. I mean, it was like throwing Brady in his first couple games in the year when he was a rookie. It's just I don't think it was fair to him, and it's just the way it worked, and next man up. But he has just not been up to par at this point. But I think Corbett's presence back and his leadership in that room, I think, will pay dividend not only for the right side of the line, but with Bozeman. I feel like Corbett, it seems like really helped Bozeman out because I feel like Bozeman has struggled too up to this point. And he's just is what he is at this. I mean, it's been that like just not good, but just like a plateau of just not great games. So Corbett, I don't think he's going to play this week. Just listen to Frank talk yesterday. It sounds like he'll probably practice soon and not probably this week. I just don't see him playing yet. What do you think of Corbett's impact? You think he's got a lot to do with how they're struggling right now?
Yeah, I do. I think that he's the emotional leader of this offensive line, and I think that was easy to tell last year. I think he sets the tone. Holds the others accountable on the offensive line, and he's missed dearly right now. And he's a very, very good offensive lineman. So I think him coming back is going to be big. I really don't know. I struggle because at the time when he went on IR, short-term IR to start the year, the punt list, it was like there was a small chance that he didn't have to go on. He was going to be ready week 1. So I think that if he's coming off now, I would hope that he's ready. I don't really know why he wouldn't be ready to practice and then play this weekend, but maybe they hold him out a week to kind of get him in game shape. I think that would be the only reason, but I think, or at least I hope that he's going to play this weekend because I think that the 4 weeks obviously have done him good, and Hopefully he's ready to go. He's been working out, and he is in game shape already, but maybe not, and they will hold him out for another week.
I apologize if you see me looking down, watching the Brewers on my phone. I'm listening, but Diamondbacks just hit home run, so I'm pissed. 4-3 Brewers are down, but it's wild. It's wild card playoffs. I wanted to transition to this, and we'll end on this unless you have anything else about the offense. You mentioned it before. You said bye week was probably the prime time for Frank to switch offense play calls. You think it's time for him to hand the reins over this week? It's week 5 going against the Detroit Lions. They're probably going to get their ass kicked. That's just my little tease for what I predict later. But anyway, do you think it's time for him to turn it over to Thomas Brown?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was time. About 4:00 on Sunday. I mean, it's just not great. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's boring, predictable. It looks like an ancient offense that Frank's just stuck in his ways about running, and like we mentioned, got the training wheels on, scared to really dial anything up, scared to take any chances. They've run it on first down. I think I saw I don't even know how many times, 30 sometimes, and they're averaging 1.7 yards a carry on first down. It's just extremely, extremely predictable, and there's no window dressing or anything in this offense. So I think it's time to at least try Thomas Brown, and I don't think it can be any worse than what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I will say this. I didn't tweet about it because I didn't even want to start a shit show on Twitter because I knew it would. But on Sunday, in our section, not me, because I'm a little bit more patient than most people, but there were some fire Frank chants in week 4 of the NFL. I know I didn't want to tweet it because I knew it would just blow up, but that's kind of where the fan base is at, some of them, with how this offense is run. And there was a lot of people in those stands too griping about the screens, the basic runs, and the overall offensive play call in general. And one thing we didn't talk about, so we're going to talk about, so we're sticking with the offense, is getting the plays in. Yeah. What the hell was up with that? There were a couple plays where I was yelling, let's go, we got 5, count it down, we got to move here. And I don't know and you talked about this too, and I know Steve Smith was on Kyle Bailey's show this week on FNZ talking about, they gave Bryce Young basically 2 plays almost every play and one to check out of if they were blitzing. And I don't know if that played into it with him trying to change those at the line of scrimmage. And it sounded like, from what Steve Smith gathered from watching, was Minnesota was kind of disguising what they were doing. So they made Bryce check out of it. And then what he checked into was actually what the Vikings were hoping he was going to check it. So I think it was a game of back and forth, but I'm assuming that was kind of playing into what was going on and why it took so long. Because Bryce would come up to the line, 12, 15 seconds left, see what the defense is doing, then change the play. And by that time, you're already, it's just
5 seconds on the clock.
Too long. Yeah. So I don't know if that was it. And I don't know how you feel about this, but I almost feel like they need to do a lot more of up-tempo, no-huddle. Because late in the games, and I get it, some of these teams are playing prevent and different defenses, but it just seems more like Bryce has command of the entire offense. The last 2 drives of both of these these last 2 games, the Saints game that Bryce played, the Saints game and the Vikings game, when he was in that 2-minute, no huddle type offense, the offense is it just seems like it's a well-oiled machine. He's making throws. It's not this dink and dunk shit. He's finding he's making plays. And, they only do that towards the end of the game or right before half. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just no huddle. And Bryce goes to the line with 20 seconds left on the play clock. So it gives them time to get things set. I don't know. I just feel like they need to move a little bit more up tempo. And I feel like that's how they did it in college with him, obviously. I don't think they huddled much at Alabama. I don't know the stats on that, but and he looked to the sidelines for the play calls. But I just feel like him up tempo it just seems like a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. It takes a lot of the thinking out of it, and it allows him to kind of control the field a little bit more. Know the defense not to be able to get into their checks and make those different defensive play calls and scheming that defenses typically do when you go into a huddle. So, yeah, I think he looks very efficient in the no huddle offense, and I think implementing that going forward would help. But another issue with getting the play calls in late, which I think is absolutely unacceptable, and Frank Reich mentioned in his presser, is that he called a play for Adam Thielen and then learned that Adam Thielen wasn't on the field, and that was the only player that the play goes to, which is crazy. But I mean, it's just like it keeps compounding, like these mistakes from the coach to the offensive line to the running back not picking up blitzes, to just so many things. I would have never said that in a presser. But one thing about Frank is he's not really going to lie.
That one I keep behind closed doors.
And another thing that you keep behind closed doors is blaming your quarterback for not throwing the ball in the dirt when he gets hit late, and calling him out in a presser for it. I don't care what what typically happens in the NFL. Yes, we know that quarterbacks throw the ball in the dirt when the play's dead. Bryce didn't do that, but he was still hit late. It still should have been a flag, and your head coach should absolutely back you up publicly, even if behind closed doors you're saying, Bryce, you got to throw that ball in the dirt. That's on you. Publicly, you defend your quarterback, and then his teammates not doing anything was also unacceptable. Frank says that they didn't see it, but Bozeman and I think it was Zavala ran over. Yeah, they saw it. They saw it, and to not get in that guy's face, and I don't care if you're going to get a flag, because that hit should have been flagged anyways. I think just showing that kind of aggression and protection for your quarterback is worth that flag, at least to set the tone. Like, you're not going to be hitting him like that. And they walked over, and it looked like they were asking the defensive guy if he was okay, and not even worrying about Bryce. So it seems like from the top to bottom, this team is just really soft right now. Not a lot of guys that, besides Deshaun Jameson, who we're going to get into in a little bit, I'm sure. Not a lot of guys that really set the tempo or set that attitude that you want from your guys and defending your quarterback. There's no Torrey Smith, or there's no Mike Tolbert that's gonna. It doesn't matter what happens. If my quarterback gets hit late, I'm getting in your face because you're not touching my quarterback. So I didn't like that from my head coach, and I didn't like it from the offensive lineman not defending them. But yeah, that's probably the last thing I'm going to say about the offense as it sits right now, because I feel like I've done a lot of complaining about them, and it's
deserved, man. I don't apologize. We've been in offensive purgatory the last 4 seasons, and it's been beyond that even. Like, it's ridiculous. I mean, this has been pitiful offensively the last 4 fucking years, and people want to say, don't boo, don't do this and that. It sucks. People shouldn't have to pay the money they fucking pay to watch a team not score an offensive touchdown in a fucking game versus an 0-3 team. Like, get your shit together.
A bad defense too. A very bad defense. Get
your shit together. I'll go off of that a little bit because I want to talk about. I had more of a problem with the players. You gotta you protect your prized possession. That was Cam Newton. Those guys were running in there and beating the shit out of you. Like, that's just how that team was 10, 15 years ago. And you need to be doing that with your franchise quarterback that you traded many assets for. So I had more problem with the players not doing anything. It was like they're digging in their ass. Like, get in there and shove a guy. And like you said, I think that sets the tone and might spark a little bit of fire under their asses to get, put some points up. So anyway, I wanted to point that out. And I also wanted to mention this just quickly about the offense. Bryce Young, I think it was in the first quarter. I keep seeing like little snippets of it on Twitter, but you can maybe help me out with this. When he called over the offense at one point on the sideline, was that in the first quarter? I thought I saw that where he had them huddled around and he was talking to them. I don't know when it happened because I didn't see that when I was there.
Yeah, I didn't see it on the broadcast. I only saw it on Twitter after, so I don't know where that came from. Maybe I missed it on the broadcast on TV, but Yeah, I think it was in the first half. I don't think it was very deep into the
Okay.
game because I saw it on Twitter.
But anyway, I like that. I like the leadership out of him to show that because I feel like that is needed on the sideline, and it's good that he's stepping into that. I just wanted to mention. All right, let's talk about the defense. I feel like this was obviously a much brighter spot. There's obviously concerns. So let's start with the good because we've been talking too damn much about that because there wasn't much good in this game. But yeah, defense scoring the lone touchdown. You talked about it. Sam Franklin, man, was that beautiful. Jumping Kirk Cousins and then Jameson. Just watching that guy's effort to run down Kirk Cousins. I mean, you just see this guy just fucking like road runner across the screen and to fucking hit him and then hit, I think, I can't think of the other Viking wide receiver.
KJ Osborne.
17. Yeah. And he hits him too at the last second. You see him go flying out of the screen or from the screen or whatever. That was a hell of a play by Sam Franklin. Hats off to him. The guy has been really, really good for this team, obviously on special teams, and then got one defensively, which I'm really happy for because obviously with Xavier Woods going down, you're worried about that. But he showed up and stepped up in a massive fucking way for this team.
Yeah, he was electric, man. That was definitely a shocker. He had that pass interference just a couple plays prior that if he gets his head around, he probably intercepts that ball. He's in good position on that pass, but just didn't get his head around. And then, Kirk stares down his receiver. I think it was KJ Osborne that he stares down. And, Sam steps in front of it and takes it 99 yards, the longest interception in Panthers history. So, and shout out to Deshaun Jameson, like you mentioned. Saw an opportunity to block Kirk Cousins and laid him out, destroyed him. And
he liked my tweet the other day too.
But yeah, I think Franklin's done a great job. He's a guy on defense that brings attitude. He's always jawing at the offensive players. He's always trying to, lay big hits. Sometimes he gets trucked out of the back of the end zone when he's trying to lay big hits like he did last game. But other times he's laying players out or, taking a pick six back 99 yards. So really impressed with him and then really impressed with Deshaun Jameson. Even more than that block that he had on Kirk Cousins. This is a guy that was an undrafted rookie we picked up off waivers or signed off of the 49ers practice squad, or I don't know if it was on waivers or off the practice squad, but he comes in and he's pretty much cornerback one, playing against the best wide receiver in the world and held his own for the most part. Justin Jefferson caught a touchdown, but that was one of yards-wise Justin Jefferson's worst games of the year. And this is Deshaun Jameson, undrafted rookie from Texas, who just got to the team a couple weeks ago and looked better than Dante Jackson's looked in 3 years in Carolina. So as far as I'm concerned, Deshaun Jameson's your starter next week. And C.J. Henderson, I thought, has played well too.
Agreed.
These past couple of weeks, he's not really getting burned at all. He's in coverage even when the receivers do get the catches on him. He's there, and he's. I think he's been good in the run game, tackling. I was really impressed with the corners. We're down. Our top two guys, and they hold Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Addison, who had 0 catches for 0 yards. I was impressed.
The secondary played lights out to hold Kirk Cousins to 100 yards passing, and to hold the best wide receiver in the game. Fuck it, I'll say it. He's the best wide receiver in the game to 55 yards is impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive. And Kirk Cousins, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe he's the leading passer in the league as far as yards go.
He was,
and to hold him to that is a beat up secondary, really beat up. And, Dante goes down during the game. That happens every year. We're used to that by now. But for those guys to step in, Jameson and Troy Hill, those guys, haven't been on this team more than a month or a month and a half. And for those guys to make plays is outstanding. And his hat's off to Evero to have those guys ready, and D'Angelo Hall, all those, it's impressive of how well they've played these last couple games. I'm shocked because you look at last year, we've seen what happened last year under, previous coaches.
Yeah.
Guys just can't get it right. But these coaches on defense just figure out a way to do it. And a guy that deserves his flowers, I even made a graphic for him, is YGM, man. The guy, I mean, he showed up to play. He played really well and had a hell of a game this weekend. And I'll be the first. I apologize. We got to see it more and consistently, but I trashed this guy up and down really ever since last year. And he played really well, and it looks like this 3-4 is suiting him really well. He's setting the edge. He's making pressures. He's making plays. I'm just trying. I don't know if you have the stats up of what he did statistically, but he had a really good day. I know he had – here it is. Let's just quickly go through it here. 4 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. This is just off the stats on NFL.com. I don't have PFF pulled up, but he played really well in this game. So hats off to him. Now to the flip side of that, let's go, because I'm sure you've had some time to think about this a little bit more and cool off a little bit. But Brian Burns, where are you at? Go ahead, Bryson.
Yeah, shout out to YGM again. I think rightfully so. Everybody was on his ass as a second-round pick, and it seems like he's kind of coming into his own, being the best edge defender that we have on this team through 4 weeks into the NFL season. So shout out to YGM, really kind of shutting the fans up, which is kind of what he was, saying in the presser prior to the start of the season. So shout out to him, give him his flowers. But yeah, Brian Burns, number 0. It's been fitting for him to switch that number because he's been a 0 through 4 weeks of the NFL season, besides, the first half of the Atlanta Falcons game. No show whatsoever. Backup tackles in weeks 2 and 3, gets out of there with 1 sack and 4 quarterback hurries. On an island for most of this game. He was not getting double teamed at a very high rate, especially in the second half of this game. On an island with Christian Darrisaw, and Darrisaw locked him up. This is a guy that's trying to get paid $30 million, upwards of $30 million, be a top 5 paid defensive end in the league, and you get out of this game with 1 quarterback hit and one tackle. This is a game where Carolina needs you to make a difference, because obviously the offense is struggling. Guys like Deshaun Jameson and YGM and Sam Franklin are making a difference, but the guy who's trying to get paid higher than the whole offense combined makes probably is just a complete no-show, and it's been like that for 3 weeks. And I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what's – he's not getting double teamed at a very high rate. And even if he is, guys like TJ Watt, Khalil Mack, who's 32 years old, has 6 sacks. And you don't think Khalil Mack's getting double teamed? You don't think TJ Watt's getting double teamed? You don't think these other guys that are getting paid at these high, the Bosa's are getting double teamed? Yeah, they're dealing with double teams because they have to, and they're still making a difference. And Brian Burns just hasn't, and it's unacceptable, especially when you're trying to get paid. And you have been a no-show for your team on the defensive line, literally not making a difference at all if you're on the field or off the field. Honestly, throughout that game, I preferred Houston and YGM. I thought that was a better combination. And, I think he's got to step it up, or he's going to be on the trade block. If the value is still 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns and he continues to play like this team is going to trade him. And they're just not going to pay him the $30 million. And I don't blame him, because he's just been so inconsistent up to this point. This is a guy that we both thought was going to get upwards of 15, 16 sacks this season, and he's just not on pace. He's got as many sacks as Kyle Hamilton, the safety for the freaking Ravens. Like, come on. He's got as many sacks as Harrison Smith from this one game. Like, Harrison Smith, the 34-year-old safety that's never had a 3-game sack in his career, gets one and is now has the same amount of sacks as Brian Burns. So I am very frustrated with him, if you can't tell. I was holding up a sign to pay him at the Monday night game versus the Saints. I still, at this point, think you should pay him, but he has to start showing up, because he is making it hard for me to defend him. And I'm sure you feel the same way, but I need him to make a difference in every single game if he's getting paid $30 million. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
No, I agree with most you said. I thought he had a solid game last week. I just think he needed to do more. But this game, unacceptable. You got to show up on the stats. Like, there was nothing. There was literally nothing. I was looking at it across the board. This is just PFF. He had one tackle. He had one tackle, too. So, yeah, I mean, you want to get paid big bucks, put the money where your mouth is, and you got to show up during the games, and you got to make impactful plays, and he didn't do that this last game. So it needs to be done this week against the Lions, and it's going to be tough sledding, but they got to find ways, and he's got to find ways to get pressure on Jared Goff, because this last game was unacceptable. I agree with you on that. Let's move. Let's go back. Well, no, we need to give Eddie some flowers too, because Eddie, my goodness, did he bail out? And we didn't even talk about the offense. See this? I mean, there's so much to talk about the offense, but Frank Reich, 30-some seconds left right before half. Bryce hits a play, clock's running. I was going to keep going until you said something, but it literally just kept on going, and he would not call a timeout, which was so frustrating. And it would have at least probably given them it would have given them a couple opportunities to get them closer for Eddie. But Eddie, of course, Eddie steady hits the 56-yarder. I think that's his longest ever.
It was.
In his entire career, and he has just been solid. Panthers have been hitting on kickers these last couple years that they've signed, and just hats off to him. And I know you talked about Marset. I thought he did well in punt returns this week. He made it, on first guy miss, get a 10, 15-yard return out of it. So I thought he played well, but just hats off to him. I thought Hecker, there was a couple I think he could have had back. There was one or two punts where I thought they were pretty short, and I know that one of them he was pissed that he missed. I don't know what happened, if it went off the side of his leg or what, but I don't know if they showed us on TV, but he was like throwing his fists, and he was bad that he missed. It was a short punt, but again, special teams I thought played well, and they deserve some credit there, because that kick before half was massive for Carolina, and if they missed it, it really would have been a bummer going into halftime for them.
Yes, Eddie bailed out his head coach for sure, and he even admitted it in his presser. Eddie Pinheiro has been great for Carolina. Really, every time he goes to kick, I think it's going in. I have full confidence in him, and that's really nice that Carolina's kind of found a kicker that stays healthy and makes kicks. So he doesn't have the biggest leg in the world, but if you got a guy that can hit 56-yarders, then that's what you got. And Eddie has done that for this team, and one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL, stats wise. So really impressed with him. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Smith Marset has done everything you would ask or you would want from a punt return guy. Makes the right decision, knows when to fair catch, knows when to take it back, knows when to let it go if it's within the 10-yard line. Like he's making all the right decisions back there, and looks like a guy that was in college, one of the best punt returners in the country, and it's translating to the NFL. So really impressed with him. I would love to see him get on offense more and get some routes and kind of see what he can do, because this is a guy that was leading the league in preseason with yards, and I think that he could be of use in this offense with receivers that can't get open. So I think he has earned a bigger opportunity in this team, and I hope that he gets it.
All right, let's talk about the reports that came out this week. One came out before the game. Ian Rappaport said the Panthers already have been active on the trade front this season. Sources say calling several teams about a potential trade for a starting wide receiver. That was either Saturday or Sunday before this last game. And then obviously the report that came out today and kind of furthering that was Jordan Schultz. And he says the Panthers are not only looking to trade for a wide receiver, but they want a number one caliber guy. This is their top priority right now. Why? because the organization is all in, and that's in all caps, on Bryce Young, the player and the person. They love him and want to support him. They believe they can push this season by adding another big playmaker. So, Bryson, the question for you is, I think I already know where you're headed with this, but should the Panthers trade for a wide receiver at this moment?
Absolutely, 100% yes, they should. This is a okay. So let's just start with this. You got a quarterback. You traded multiple firsts. You traded your wide receiver one, other picks to get and invest in this guy. This is his first year in the NFL, and we've seen through 4 weeks an offense that has been not good, and a lot of that is because of the receivers not getting open. A lot of it is also because of the play calling, but
and the offensive line and the run
and the offensive line. But
yeah.
I think if you get a guy that is like what's being reported, a true wide receiver one, guys like Devontae Adams or Jerry Jeudy or T. Higgins, whoever it is, you bring in a guy like that, and you can move Adam Thielen to the 2 and Shark to the slot. And, I feel like that opens the offense up a lot. And, you're still struggling with a run game that's kind of hasn't found its footing through a quarter of the NFL season. But I think doing that, bringing that in to help your wide receiver or your quarterback's confidence and try to do the least amount of damage to him in his first year in the NFL, getting Corbett back, like we mentioned, moving with Throckmorton or keeping him at right guard, putting Corbett at left guard, adding a wide receiver one, and then kind of expanding the playbook, I think could do a lot of wonders for this offense. And I think that it's worth it. You do what you got to do to get a wide receiver one. If you got to trade Brian Burns, you trade Brian Burns. I'm sorry that if that's what.
Why no? I'm not. Why now though? Like I feel like this is a panic move. Like they're panicking. They're 0-4. Why give up assets now when you can go sign a number one wide receiver in the offseason? They're not. It's damn near impossible to make the playoffs at this point. It's like only one team has done it that has been 0-4 and made a turnaround and made the playoffs. One team. And no team has ever made the playoffs when they were 0-5. So, like, why make the move now when you can just not trade, not give away assets, and wait till the offseason and go out and get a number one wide receiver that's on the market? Because I think there's a couple guys that are going to be in free agency next year, and I may, while you're talking, I maybe try to pull that up to see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Of who I just feel like it's such a panic move. Like they should have done this before they got Bryce Younger in the summer. Like I don't understand the move now. It seems like a panic move to me. And I'm all like, I know I'm on the side that Bryce Young needs weapons. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you'd be stupid not to say that. This wide receiver core is just, it's not up to par. They don't have a number one. And now they're scrambling because I think they thought, some of these guys, Chark and Thielen and Hurst, were going to pick up the slack of DJ Moore, and that has not happened. So,
yeah,
that was my question is like, why now? It just seems it's such a panic move. And I don't know if that's Scott Fitter trying to save his ass or what, or Tepper saying, you guys need to go out because this guy's, Bryce Young's getting embarrassed. This is bullshit. Like he needs help. Or what's pushing that, but it's just the timing is terrible. I think it's dumb that they're panicking about this now. Like that, this should have been discussed in the off season and maybe not made that Adam Thielen or Shark move and go and get a big name guy then. And like, I don't know, they went out in search of these two guys. They wanted these two guys and now they're not up to par and now they're scrambling. And it just seems like they've done this in the past. Scott Fitter has done this before. C.J. Henderson comes to mind. The trade after someone goes down and gets hurt. Like he's known to make these moves, but I just feel like it's panicky at this point when they're terrible. They suck. So anyway, go ahead.
I think another guy that comes to mind is Stephon Gilmore too, right? They traded for him and brought him in. Yeah. He was great for Carolina. So, I think you kind of answered your own question a little bit. These guys just aren't as good as they thought they were going to be. But
then why not just keep going with it? Because you're not going to go anywhere this year.
Why?
You know what I mean? Like you're not.
Why keep your quarterback in a situation that sucks. Why not do something when you can do something? So I understand where you're coming from.
It might cost you foolishly. That's like, I'm worried they're going to do something stupid because they're desperate, even though like it's almost impossible for them to make a playoff run right now. Like,
so
they're just not there.
So I think that possibly doing damage to your quarterback, your rookie quarterback, that is irreversible in this first year in the NFL, heavily outweighs any risk that you take in trading for a wide receiver one. And in my opinion, I think that it's something that needs to be done to open the offense up and give him that opportunity to make the progress. Hold on. I'm going to keep going. I gotta talk about your other points. And then also, yes, I understand starting 0-4. There's only been one team to ever do that. That's with a 16-game schedule. There is an extra game this year, or starting a couple years ago. It's a 17-game schedule. So all those records and numbers are based off of a 16-game schedule. I'm not saying the Panthers are going to make the playoffs, but there is, an extra game. We are in a terrible division. I don't think the Bucs are 3-1 good. I think that they, teams are going to figure out Baker Mayfield. It's happened his whole career. He's not going to play at this level for the whole season. The Saints are banged up, not really that great. I think that they still see an opportunity to win this division. And we started 1-5 last year, and we're in a position to win the division last season with Sam Darnold. So I don't think this team's given up. And I haven't given up all hope that the season's over. We lose next week, and then again versus the Dolphins going into the bye week being 0-6. I mean, it's going to be hard to reasonably keep any hope. But
they're done if they're 0-6. They're not doing anything this year if they're 0-6.
Well,
you can bet your ass on
it. The difference between 0-6 and 1-5 is one game. So I think that if they were to come out of the bye week and then if they can stack a win against the Texans and the Colts and they're 2-6 and see what the rest of the division does, I still think that they're mathematically they're going to be in this thing. I think until the end of the year, week 17, 18 going. Because of how bad the division is. So I think going out and getting a receiver of a caliber that is probably better than what DJ Moore was in Carolina. If they're looking at true number one wide receivers, and you're talking about guys like Devontae Adams or Jerry Jeudy or T. Higgins. I don't know if T. Higgins is any better than DJ Moore, but those other two guys I believe are if Jeudy can stay healthy, an elite route runner. They got the history. They didn't play with each other at Alabama, I don't think, but they at least both went to Alabama and have that in common. So I don't know if Devontae Adams is even available, but if they could somehow bring a guy like that in, that changes the offense completely, in my opinion. And you're going to be running a whole different playbook. So
you got me at the edge of my seat. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How does that solve, though, the offensive line issues, the run game issues? Like, that doesn't solve shit. Like, this offensive line is terrible right now.
Yeah, and I think getting Corbett back fixes a lot of the issues that we're having with the offensive line right now. And I think that, like we talked about earlier, he is the emotional and verbal leader of this offensive line. Taylor Moton's the veteran. He's quiet. He's not going to call anybody out. I think getting Corbett back is going to help with a lot of those issues on the offensive line, or at least I hope that it does. And I think that getting Zavala out of there, who's given out the most pressures in the NFL, is going to help with that offensive line. So I think that improves it. You bring in a wide receiver one. Hopefully you get your run game going. Maybe they transition to Chuba being running back one and move Miles more in, or just do like a 50-50 split, backfield. And there's not a full-time running back. It's part-time. Both of them got part-time jobs. So I don't know. I think it's worth a shot because through 4 weeks, his offense has been dog shit. And I don't think the owner or the head coach wants to see their quarterback go through that for the whole season. The rookie quarterback who is already facing heat from the fans and the rest of the league and the media about being a bust as the number one overall pick. So I'm on board with doing it. It sounds like you're not, which is fair. I just think that it's worth a shot.
No, I mean, I'm not entirely shut the idea out. I just think it's it's bullshit because they fucked up this offseason and didn't go and do it then. And that's when they should have done it. I mean, you bring a guy in, he's got to get acclimated with this offense, and it's just going to take time. Like, it's not going to just boom, snap, and here we go, and we got Devontae Adams running. I mean, it's this organization has done this over and over, and it's ridiculous to this point that make these moves in the offseason so this guy can get acclimated with a rookie and, get up to speed. And he's not learning on the fly. Baker Mayfield learned on the fly last year. And I'm trying to think of some other guys. Laviska Shenault, when he came in August, he was learning on the fly, and they were just running script. Like this time and time again, when make these trades, it's just all this learn on the fly bullshit. And I don't knock the organization for trying to get this team better. And I appreciate that out of them, is that they're not going to settle for just bullshit, and at least attempt. But those attempts are half-assed half the time, and that's the problem. That's why I'm just get so frustrated about it. But sticking with this, you mentioned a couple guys. If they were to trade, who do you want? Who is like your number? Like, please go out and get this motherfucker. Like, who do you want?
Yeah, realistically,
go and get.
Realistically, I don't think Davante Adams is on our radar price-wise, and I don't know if he's even available for trade. People say he's not happy, but he's going to be coming to an 0-4 team, so I don't know if he'd be happy here either. So I don't know if realistically he's an option. Obviously, I think that would probably be my number one if it was, but I think realistically a guy I would want Jerry Jeudy over T. Higgins. I think Jerry Jeudy.
Really?
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy is one of the best route runners in the NFL. He is disgusting. Yes, he's battled some injuries throughout his career, but he is an elite route runner that specializes in getting separation, which is what this team needs. He would come in, immediately be wide receiver one. The wonders he would do for this offense. I'm getting chills thinking about it, but he would be my number one. I'd be happy with T. Higgins, but T. Higgins is a big kind of jump ball receiver. He doesn't specialize in getting separation. He does get a little bit more on average than Adam Thielen does, but he's not, a guy like Jerry Jeudy who that's what he does. So,
man, I'll tell you what, I don't like Jeudy. Like I never have liked that guy. I never touched him in fantasy football. He's always injured. Like he's always injured.
Yeah.
That's what scares the hell out of me. And I don't think he's put up at 1,000-yard season yet. And I get it. He's been hampered. Denver has been atrocious. I understand that offensively, but Carolina's been atrocious. DJ Moore has found ways to get 1,000 yards in a season with turntable QBs and everything else. I don't know what it is. I personally have never been a fan of Jeudy ever. Davante Adams for me.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. In 2022, he had 67 catches, 972 yards, and 6 touchdowns with a bad
That was his best
Wilson.
year.
Bad Russell Wilson at quarterback. His rookie year, he had 856 and 3 touchdowns. So this is a guy that's played with bad quarterback play his whole career in Denver. Russell Wilson has not been good. I think that's pretty well known around the league. But I think that he would come in, and again, they got the Alabama background together. I think this would be Bryce's guy. I think he would consistently get open one-on-ones, create separation, and be the guy that Bryce would need. But again, you're right. He has battled some injuries. He does get injured a lot, and that's probably part of the reason why he's being rumored to be on the trade block right now. But
yeah, I want to go through these injuries because I pulled this up before. He had a shoulder injury in 2020. Same year, a couple weeks later, had an ankle injury. He was active for that game, but I'm sure he wasn't playing up to par. Then 2021, high ankle sprain, missed 6 games. 2022, growing pulled. He was removed in the game out of precaution. That same year, September, went down first quarter with a rib sprain. Whatever the hell that is. I know you could sprain a rib, but I guess you can. I ain't no damn doctor, so don't even.
So that was in 2022?
That was in 2022. And then in November, strained muscle behind his left ankle. I don't know how long he was out. It doesn't say. But these are just injuries he's had throughout his career. And I'm just saying, in those games, I'm sure he didn't play very well because he was injured. But anyway, and then he has a hamstring strain in August of this year. So, and it was a grade 2, according to DraftSharks.com. That's what we're going with today, DraftSharks.com. But anyway, guy's been injured. Obviously, I think Davante Adams is the prized possession. Don't think it happens. They better not even think about going after Chase Claypool. Guy is a cancer for the locker room, and
Terrible.
I don't even want to see that. And I'm hoping the Schultz report tonight kind of confirms that and gets, because I don't want to even hear about that. T. Higgins is I don't know what, I just love T. Higgins, and I've just, case in point, when I like guys, you're going to be on my fantasy football team. I've drafted him last couple of years. The guy is solid. He put up 1,000 yards, even with Chase on the other side. Like, the guy can make plays. I really like him. And he has been dealing with some injuries too, which is not ideal. Like recently,
he's injured right now.
Yeah. So, tough son of a bitch. He might be playing still through it. We'll see. But like, he has consistently put up numbers, and I get it. Like, Cincinnati these last couple of years have been in a way better situation than Denver. But like, DJ Moore put up 1,000 yards every season with bullshit. Like, Jerry Jeudy should be able to put it up, but he can't stay on the motherfucking field. So like,
Jeudy was injured what sounded like 3 separate times last season, and he still almost put up 1,000 yards and had his best year ever as a receiver last season. So,
again, those weren't like he was out those games. Those were just like injuries that came up through the season. He probably played through all that, but like, it's concerning when you're going to trade up assets if a guy's not going to be on the field all the time. So.
And my worry with T. Higgins is kind of what you mentioned. He's been opposite of Jamar Chase this whole time. He's not faced cornerback ones. He's not been double teamed. In Carolina, he's the guy. He's going to get double teamed. He's facing the number one cornerback on the other team. He's not a wide receiver that specializes in separation. He's a jump ball wide receiver, and that's what he's done with one of the best quarterbacks in the league with Joe Burrow. And yeah, he has gone in 2021 and 2022, 1,000-yard receiving, 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, but was he ever given the opportunity? I mean, you say he's just a jump ball guy, but was he ever put in that role? Maybe that's just the role he's always been put in. You know what I mean? Like, does he have that potential? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's put in the role that they think that, he's a 4-5-4 guy. He's not a burner. He's just, that's just what he is. I mean, and he's really good at it. He's a good jump ball receiver, but is that what Carolina wants or needs right now? I think if that's a guy they're targeting, then I would lean more on the side of, what you were arguing earlier, just stick with what you got. I just don't know if T. Higgins changes a lot for Carolina at this time.
Is there any other guys out of the disregard those guys for a second? Any others that you would, I'm looking, and we mentioned this before, 2024, and me, taking the side of, I think they just wait this shit out. Is Mike Evans is a free agent?
Yeah,
would be a major upgrade. I know he's on the older side of things, but he's very talented. He is the biggest name free agent. Odell Beckham is a free agent after this year. Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd. So that list shrinks really after Mike Evans. So like Mike Evans is like the cream of the crop of this free agent class next year.
Yeah.
Do you see that? I mean, could that? I don't see that. I don't see Bucks. I don't think Bucks would ever trade in division, and I don't think they would do it, though, how well they're playing. But is there any other guys that we're not thinking of that could be or that are tradable? I know I kind of flirted the idea of Stephon Diggs because you always hear that, like, he's not satisfied in Buffalo, but
they're playing amazing right now.
I know. Yeah. Is there any other guys out there that?
Not that I can think off the top. I mean, the report from Schultz was they're looking at legitimate wide receiver ones. I don't know of very many legitimate wide receiver ones that teams want to trade away. Like, I don't know. I mean, you look at the other bad teams around the league, the Chicago Bears, they're not going to trade you DJ Moore back, right?
We'll do DJ Moore for Jeremy Chin. Clean swap. Let's do it.
I mean, you look at the Vikings, they're probably still going to try to – they're not trading Jefferson. He's untouchable, the best receiver in the NFL. Of course, the Broncos, which is the team we're talking about, maybe they go for Cortland Sutton instead of Jeudy. Sutton's more of a receiver like T. Higgins, though. So I don't know. I think if the report is right and they're really looking for wide receiver ones, it's a short list. It is of players that are available. So is DeAndre Hopkins available? Are the Titans? How do they feel about him?
I Oh yeah, I didn't think of him.
He does have a bad history.
They just signed him. That would be right. That'd be so. I can't see that.
He has a bad history with D'Angelo Hall.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Tyreek Hill. He's coming to town soon. I'm just kidding.
Don't let that man leave the building.
Jalen Waddle. I mean, bring Waddle over.
Yeah, I don't think they're moving either of those guys. They're trying to win Super Bowls. So I don't know, man.
Do they think Jamison Williams is a
possibly? Or what about
another
Mechie?
guy?
Mechie with the from the Texans who played with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And
so did Williams.
Yeah, Mechie's
the
coming off of I think he had a heart. I don't even know. He had something serious.
Yeah, he had some health issue.
But yeah, either of those guys maybe. I mean, we're going to see Jamison Williams this weekend, and versus the
That's
Lions.
what I'm thinking.
So I don't know. That's a possibility.
Anyway, just something to think about. Let's get to this game this weekend. Man, those Lions look good. I mean, they looked good last year, and I don't know how Carolina pulled that one off, but man, I love Ben Johnson. Man, do I love Ben Johnson.
Same.
Ben Johnson with Bryce Young. Oh, all right. We can dream a little bit. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about it. What do you think of this game? I'll tell you what, I'm scared at Lions D-line. Hutchinson is – and just going off on a tangent, why the hell didn't the Jaguars draft Hutchinson? I mean, that guy is when that draft happened, I'm like, the Lions are going to get the freaking guy who went to Michigan, and he's going to stay right where he's at and just dominate in Detroit. And man, he is good. He is so damn good. Yeah, but yeah, that Lions defense is – they're going to put some pressure on.
Yeah, the D-line leads the league in pressures in the NFL. So, and the Panthers' offensive line specializes in giving up pressures. So it's not a good combination. Yeah, I mean, the Lions are a good team. This is a team that's going to have a deep playoff run this year, I believe. They're coached well. Their offense is very good. I think they've scored over 25 points, 13 games in a row, which is the longest active streak in the NFL. They play defense better than they have last year. Their defense still isn't, the best in the league secondary-wise, but it's not an easy defense. They're better than the Vikings. They're better than the Seahawks defense, and we struggled with those defenses. So I am worried about this game. It's not going to be easy. It's very unlikely Carolina pulls out a win in this game, but things are going to have to go. A lot of things are going to have to go right for the Panthers to win this game. And the defense is going to have to step up and play at a high level again. Amon-Ra St. Brown, really good receiver. They got David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. They got Sam Laporta, tight end, that's looking amazing. I mean, there's talent all over this team. And then not to even mention Aiden Hutchinson, like you had mentioned earlier. It's Brian Burns going up against Sewell, one of the best left tackles in the league. I think he was injured, but I don't know if he's going to be back or not. But if he is, Brian Burns, he couldn't get past Darisaw. He's not getting past Sewell. Sorry. Probably going to be another no-show from Burns unless he proves me wrong, which I would be happy about. But I don't really see a path to victory for Carolina in this game.
Yeah, I don't either. This Lions team is playing really well. And they beat the Chiefs week 1, go into Green Bay, beat them, embarrass them really for much of that game. I know they had a little comeback there, but they're just – I don't know how you can't like Dan Campbell. The way that guy leads is incredible, and it's really fun to watch. And then you have Ben Johnson. He's really creative with his play calling. God, I wish he would have interviewed in Carolina. I think he'd be the coach if he interviewed. I was so defeated when I saw that alert.
Same.
It was like a Tuesday night or something in Rappaport. Yeah, Ben Johnson has canceled his interview with Carolina tomorrow. I'm like, oh my Jesus, damn it, dude.
Thought that was a done deal.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Lions. We just saw about they're getting Williams back. He was suspended from gambling. That got moved up with the new rules with the NFL and the PA that they just approved. Really hasn't played much. Played with Bryce Young. Curious to see how he does in this game for them. Jared Goff is just a surprise, but he's playing really well. And then their running backs, both of those guys. Carolina's going to have a tough time. Carolina's a tough time stopping the run. The Vikings got right versus Carolina in the run game this week when the Vikings couldn't run the ball at all. So that's going to be a big test for them. But I don't have faith in this team right now. They haven't played well enough, and for them to go in and beat a team on the road in Detroit, just don't see it happening. What do you got for a score?
Yeah, I think the Lions continue their streak of scoring 25 points in a game. I think they score 27. Carolina gets 10.
All right. So you're saying 27-10.
Yeah.
Your score's throwing me off. I was going to go higher. Then I'm like, the Carolina's defense is held over pretty well. Let's go. No, I'm not. I'm going to stick with what I was going to go with. Let's go with 34 to 34-16. Carolina loses. They gave up a decent amount in Seattle, so I think that's possible. Detroit's, I'm going to go with that. So 34-16. I really hope they prove us both wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Brewers just had bases loaded and didn't get a run out of it. What the hell? But anyway, I think it's going to be tough sledding, and I'm losing faith. You seem more optimistic than I do, so our revolt – I swear we always flip at some point in the season where usually you're the pessimistic one, and I feel like that has flipped a little bit more. You're just trying to stay positive.
I'm just happy that we have a quarterback. I think that it's clear Bryce Young is the guy. I don't think the people that are saying we picked the wrong guy or that he's a bust or whatever, he's not playing up to the same level as CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. Which that last part is true currently. I know in my heart that Bryce Young is our franchise quarterback, and I think that everything he's been asked to do, he's done up to this point from his head coach. So once the things open up on offense, I hope we have a new wide receiver one playing in this game for Bryce Young. In this game. If they trade this week for a wide receiver, he's playing. I guarantee you he's playing. He might not run many routes, but he's going to get some play time. So,
can we call Steve Smith out of retirement? Is that possible? I think he'd still go.
Oh, he would still probably be the best receiver on the team. I'm not down about that. But, the sad part is even if they went for a guy like Claypool might be the best receiver on this team. So,
I don't know about that.
It'll be close. It'll be close. But I'm just knowing that we have a quarterback keeps me optimistic. I'm not looking for wins this year. I'm looking for progress, and Bryce has shown that in every game. And I think he's going to show it again this week. Hopefully, he gets a couple passing touchdowns. It's the next thing I want to see. He could have had some last week, but his fucking tight end and wide receiver dropped it in the end zone. So this week, catch the ball.
Yeah, and I got so sidetracked I didn't even talk about that fumble. That was a 10-point swing in that game. A 10 freaking point swing, which is so frustrating. And that's one, and we were talking so much about the offense, but Bryce Young's got to clean that up. He's had 2 turnovers like that. Guys coming free. He's got to at least recognize it and be cognizant of just take the sack, get down, and move on to the next play. And I'm hoping he learns that. His 2 picks came, the 2 picks, it comes in twos. Maybe he had those 2 picks in Atlanta, has kept care of the ball now, throwing it. And now he's had those 2 fumbles, and I hope that doesn't continue because that's something he's got to clean up and see. But let's leave it at that. Hope for the best this weekend. Carolina's staring down 0-6 real quick here with these 2 games. So hopefully they turn it around. But we appreciate everyone listening to the Panthers on Tap podcast. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. Go give us a follow on Twitter for all your analysis and breaking news. And as always,